Welcome to our Positively Jax Spotlight, where we take a look at all of the wonderful things that are happening in our community, organizations that are currently producing amazing talent and wonderful organizations in our community. So I want to introduce Dr. Natalya Roby, who is the President CEO of Episcopal Children's Services here in Jacksonville. And welcome, because you've only been in this role for 8 months, but you are familiar with our area, working with Pace Center for Girls in Gainesville for some years, and now you're with ECS for kids, I should say, right?
For me?
Yeah, but the name of the organization.
ECS for kids, yes.
So a lot of people know it just as ECS. What was kind of the idea behind adding that for kids to it?
We really wanted to do a brand refresh that feels more inclusive. So we started with one center in 1966 that was founded by the Episcopal Church. And although we're not affiliated with the Episcopal Church anymore, we have an incredible history and foundation with them, but we have really grown beyond that. Now we are in 14 counties throughout Florida. We're serving 30,000 children, and we really want to make sure that we have a name that feels inclusive, that we welcome all backgrounds, all religions. So ECS for Kids will always be rooted in the Episcopal Church from our foundation, but we've really expanded so that our brand now reflects the diversity of our entire agency.
Yeah, which I think is so important, because when you say something, you do want people to feel welcome.
Absolutely.
And that this is for you and not just for some of the people in our community. I want to talk more about you in just a minute, but first, in case you haven't really heard of this organization, tell us what you all do.
We're a very multifaceted organization. So one of the things I've been working through in my 8 months is hearing that we are a best kept secret, right? And we do provide early childhood education to children who are in need, predominantly children who are in poverty, children and families. We provide early childhood care for those children. We provide services to their parents and families, health and nutrition. One of my favorites are the father engagement initiatives that we have. But really, we're in a fight against poverty. And we're starting at the earliest stages in life so that these children have an opportunity to succeed. So when children enter kindergarten, we look a lot at their grade literacy rates, and that is the standard for how we're building our jails and how we look at the landscape of our community. But when a kid enters kindergarten, if they have not opened a book before they enter kindergarten, they're starting to count themselves out. And that's exactly when the school to prison pipeline starts.
You know, I love that we're talking about this more, especially here in Jacksonville with the mayor who is really bold about saying how education really contributes to how well you thrive in your community. So when we talk about Head Start, and to your point, I've done stories where, you know, kids go into kindergarten and they've never opened a book before. And they're kids who are already reading. So how do you level that playing field? And that's what this organization really, truly does.
Absolutely. I've had the great honor to work with children throughout my career from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade. And it was so clear the children that came in kindergarten who had never opened a book before had early childhood education exposure. I mean, even myself, I was not the best student, but I did have exposure to early childhood education. That foundation has stayed with me. And since I've worked with children from kindergarten through 12th grade, moving into this role has been a full circle moment, really understanding how important it is for these children to have an opportunity to succeed at the earliest stages in life to set them up for success in the future. But it's the long game, right? It's not intervention, it's absolutely true prevention. And it has the power to not only transform the life of that child, strengthen families, but it also will transform the landscape of our communities and society, reduce crime rates, improve graduation rates. Really strengthen our communities if we can start at the earliest stages.
All right, let's talk a little bit about you. I know you grew up in New York, you moved to Florida at some point when you were a teenager. You were supposed to be an attorney, so tell me how that kind of
turned. Who told you that?
Look, this article right here that I have. But you had an experience with a 6-year-old, I believe it was, that really kind of turned your life around.
I did, so bear with me because every time I tell it, I always feel the feels. So I volunteered at the Boys and Girls Club, Love Boys and Girls Club. That was where I started my career. I was a student at the University of Florida, and I was volunteering there while I was applying for law school. There was a young girl, a young African-American young lady, who asked me what I was doing there, and I let her know that I was interning, and I was a student at UF. this Boys and Girls Club was located in a government housing community 1 mile away from UF.
Right there. The school was within sight. Almost.
Right within sight, 1 mile away from UF. And when she looked at me, she said, "You go to UF?" She said, "Brown people don't go to college."
Wow.
And it just took my breath away to the point where I knew that my purpose was to show up for her and anyone else who felt that they couldn't be more than what they see in their circumstances. So I looked at her and I said, "I am a student at UF, and you can be a student anywhere you want if you choose to." And then she asked me for a receipt. She said, "I need to see your ID."
She was like, "Are you sure?" Still didn't believe you. And that shows,
yeah.
you know, that young girl, 6 years old, and you know what hurts me is sometimes in schools they don't see teachers who look like them. They don't see leaders who look like them. It doesn't, or they may on TV, but it doesn't feel real to them. So you made it real for her.
Yeah, that's something I take very seriously, because I realize, me even being in this role, I want our children to see themselves beyond their circumstances. And that same young girl, she ended up at Pace when I was at Pace.
Right, okay.
So there's a full circle moment with her as well, where she did graduate from high school.
Right.
She went off to college.
Wow.
She's her son, after her son, I'm sorry, I get emotional when I think about it. Her son is now on the waiting list at ECS. And she said, "You know, I didn't have a chance to overcome a lot of things in my life, but I've got to this point. But my child can do more."
Wow.
And I'm so happy that she told me that she was so happy that I was in this role, because she wants her son to have access to more opportunities than she has had. So that's really when it comes back to that really intervening at the earliest stage, so that they can have the best opportunity to succeed.
And she saw something that she attained and now wants even better.
She wants better for the next generation, so that he doesn't have to go through the trauma that she experienced.
Yeah. I mean, so you must feel like you were right where you need to be.
It's a full circle. My mom was a Head Start teacher.
Okay.
It was the first job she ever had, so I know how important it is to make sure that these children are experiencing love, care, and compassion. And every single day, that girl, the kids my mom supported, they're on my shoulder in every room that I walk into.
Wow, they were lucky to have you, no doubt about it. All right, so coming up after the break, we're going to come back. So I want to talk more about this organization, how you can get involved, maybe if you want to volunteer or donate, or even to enroll your child and make sure that they are on track for this type of experience so that they can be successful as well. All right, so we'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back to our Positively Jax Spotlight. We are talking with Dr. Roby. Really just found out your heart for why you're in this role with Episcopal Children's Services for kids. That really truly is making sure that when children enter school in kindergarten, that they are ready, that they're potentially reading in some cases, and at least have had their hands on a book, and are ready for the rigor of school, because it's serious. I mean, I remember when I was in kindergarten, you were learning your ABCs, I think, but kids come in and they really hit the ground running.
Absolutely. That exposure is critical. And I talked about the third grade literacy rates, but that's really where we're assessing. If they have access at the earliest stages in life, we are setting them up for success and ending those cycles of poverty. And also giving their parents an opportunity to join the workforce. Childcare is one of the biggest barriers for lower and middle class families. It's a huge barrier for them to be able to work. So by being able to get these children in a caring, loving environment where they're learning, their parents can get out and work. And we also, one thing that I've been really excited to see is that 21% of our workforce at ECS for kids are past and current Head Start families.
Yeah, that means it's impacted them enough that they want to come back and and reinvest into something that they know works, basically.
Yeah, and we want to invest in them because they deserve that.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk about some of the strategic priorities for the future. You know, you've been in this role for 8 months. Obviously, you have some ideas and some goals, and you've been in the trenches, so you truly understand the need as well.
Yeah, so the two focus areas have really been on culture and impact. So really starting from within, I've been doing a lot of listening. I wanted to make sure I understand with an agency with this depth of history, I want to understand where we have come from, where have we gone, to decide where we can go, right? So I've spent time doing listening sessions, doing town halls, really understanding the needs of our staff, our children and families. How can we innovate to ensure that as our children evolve, that our program is evolving? So that's been a real big focus for us right now. Also ensuring that we have more space for the kids that we're serving. And the kids that need us. Our last needs assessment showed 14,000 underserved children right here in Duval County.
And you have waiting lists.
We have such a large waiting list, and part of that is really making sure that we're able to spread the message of who we are so people can support us, so we can get those kids off the waiting list, give those children an opportunity to be a part of our program, and get their parents involved as well so that they have the opportunity to work and have access to our resources.
Yeah, I find I did some volunteering, before I started my family and got super busy, but I do remember the parents, who maybe didn't have the confidence to even sit down and read with the kids because maybe they didn't know how to read or they didn't feel comfortable reading. And so I love the idea that the parents are involved and that they come back and they work and they serve.
They do.
Because that really addresses the whole family.
That's our model. That's our program model. It's addressing the whole family, because if we strengthen families, we're now strengthening communities, and that changes the landscape of society.
Yeah. So we talk about expansion and, what are some ways that people in the community can volunteer, they can donate, just tap into this organization?
Absolutely. A couple ways. One is always volunteering. Our children love when people come read to them.
Okay.
Reading reading has been so important. We also really want to make sure that people understand who we are and what we do. We not only do early childhood education, we have Coach Jax. We're out in the community coaching teachers. We're also, sorry.
It's okay. You're doing a lot. So you have to think about some of the things that you're doing.
Yes, we also offer comprehensive mental health services to our families.
That's
so it's really addressing the whole family, and not in one way, but in different ways. So it's really been humbling to see the depth of our work, but really getting the message out has been a top priority for us, because hearing that we're one of the biggest, the best kept secrets, we don't want that. We don't want that anymore. No. We don't want to be
a compliment, but you're like, but no, everyone needs to know what we're doing.
And our children, they're littles, right? They can't speak for themselves. So it's our job to make sure that we are speaking on behalf of them, so people know that we need you. We need your support. They are our future, and it's the long game. The support that we give them now will change the landscape of this community in 5, 10, 15 years.
And when they take that third grade assessment, they're ready for it.
They are ready for it.
So at what age do you start working with the kids?
From infants to 5 years old. Okay. And then we work with their parents, and we work with teen mothers as well. And we go into their home and offer them educational services. So it's extremely comprehensive and holistic. We just really want to make sure that people have a good understanding of the work that we're doing in the community.
I've interviewed you guys so many times, I didn't realize how many layers you have, certainly that supports the community. So if someone's listening and they're like, okay, how do I get involved? How do I trigger these services and these resources? Because sometimes even that's intimidating to make that phone call or to get on the website.
Yeah, I look forward to people visiting our website, coming to our wild reading safari, coming to Wine, Women, and Shoes. We have different events, but also just visiting a center. Come and see what we do firsthand. When you see what we do firsthand, it's undeniable. And I think one of the best secret ingredients that we have at ECS for kids is love. Our children want love. And one of the best moments I've had in my time at ECS is we had a ribbon cutting for our playground. And Elmo was there, and there was a little one who said, "Can you tie my shoes?" So I bent down, I started tying his shoes, and he kind of tackled me with a hug.
Okay.
And it was the sweetest, I fell back and I just took the hug. It was the sweetest hug ever.
Yeah.
And I said, "You could have just asked for a hug." He said, "I know, but can you still tie my shoes?" I was like, "I'll tie your shoes."
Actually, the hug came because I felt the love coming from you, right? He needed just shoes tied, but he felt probably that energy that you were giving him.
Exactly. So, and I see our teachers do it every single day. Our therapists, our counselors, our social emotional therapists. We're giving love every single day. And for me, being the CEO and a child feeling that comfortable to hug me and seek that love, our children are looking for love, and again, that is embedded into the fabric of our organization, from not only our curriculum, how we treat our kids, but how we treat each other as an agency.
Yeah, and that's one of your mottos is leading with love.
It
and
is.
What I think is interesting, it'll help you pivot, right? It'll help you see, okay, maybe I was going in this direction, but I need to turn
Absolutely.
to address the need.
Yeah, the people who work for our agency are our most important commodity. And when you treat people with love, care, empathy, and concern, they understand that they're valuable on our most difficult day, because we have very challenging roles, especially our teachers and those who are in the trenches every day. But when you make people feel valued, they see themselves as there's something bigger than just an individual. We're now working to a bigger goal, which is ending that fight for poverty.
No doubt. And with 14,000 underserved children in our community, we definitely know that they need those services and how important they are. Dr. Roby, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you. I really feel like I understand this organization much better. And I hope that this has been impactful for you and given you some direction and desire to tap in and be a part of it. So I wish you the best luck.
Thank
8
you.
months in and many years
Many
to go.
to come.
Yeah. All right. Thank you for joining us on this Positively Jax Spotlight.